This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but instead, it became the kind of discovery that changes lives forever. A simple 2004 Lincoln penny, a broken bar, no mint mark, a broken bar, something so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of people spend it without thinking twice. And yet, one of these tiny copper treasures shocked the entire coin world when it surfaced, selling for nearly $1 million. Now imagine this. You've got a jar of pennies sitting in your kitchen, dusty, forgotten, coins you toss in without even looking. But inside the jar, there could be one coin, a broken bar, one mistake here, broken bar, one miraculously broken bar that turns an ordinary penny into a fortune. That's the secret of the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny. And tonight, you're going to discover why. But here's the first thing you need to know. A broken bar. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of pennies in 2004. No mint mark at all. To most people, that means they're worthless, just another 1-cent coin. But for collectors who know what to look for, a broken bar, hidden errors and rare variations can transform a single penny into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1 million. Mistakes. Tiny, almost invisible mistakes. The kind that most people overlook. A broken bar but coin experts obsess over. Think about it. A slightly double date, a misplaced die, a rare die clash, the wrong plant used by accident. These aren't just errors, they're fingerprints of history. Rare works that turn pocket change into priceless artifacts. But what happened next stunned even veteran collectors. In 2004, a man in the Midwest found a strange penny in his pocket change. At first, he thought it was nothing, just worn, just old. But then he looked closer. The lettering was doubled. The strike looked unusual. His curiosity got the better of him, and he took it to a dealer. The dealer's jaw dropped. He knew instantly this was no ordinary coin. Collectors were shocked when that coin surfaced at auction. What looked like a common center broken bar sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The buzz was electric. Experts whispered that certain 2004 no mint mark pennies, depending on their era, could be worth as much as $1 million in pristine condition. And suddenly, everyone was searching. But here's the part that most people still don't realize. The 2004 pennies are deceptive. Most look completely normal. Most are worth only face value. But the rare ones, they hide in plain sight. A faint doubling of "In God We Trust," a shifted Lincoln bust, a rare off-metal strike. Each detail tells a story, each error unlocking unimaginable value. And that's why collectors can't stop hunting, because anyone, anywhere, could pull one of these coins from circulation at any moment. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some of the rarest 2004 no mint mark pennies aren't just error coins. They're transitional mistakes, struck on leftover planchettes meant for earlier years. Imagine a modern penny struck on an older bronze planchette instead of zinc. That combination is so rare, so accidental, that the value skyrockets instantly. We're not talking a few dollars. We're talking thousands of broken bar, tens of thousands of broken bar, climbing toward $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And now collectors everywhere are obsessed with one question: how do you know if you've got one? But before we reveal the secrets, let's pause here, because the world of coin collecting is filled with legends. Stories of people who found unimaginable treasures in the most ordinary places. A woman once found a rare double die penny while cleaning her house. A man discovered a 6-figure nickel at a garage sale. And every time it happens, the same thought echoes in people's minds: that could have been me. And with the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny, that chance is very, very real. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses are watching them climb higher in value. And collectors know once word spreads, once people start checking their change more carefully out the window to find one before it disappears, could slam shut forever. But what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook? A broken bar is its disguise. It looks like every other penny in your pocket. Same color, same design, same feel in your hand. But one tiny detail, a broken bar, one error invisible to the untrained eye. A broken bar changes everything. 2004. No mint mark under it. That tells you it's from Philadelphia. Then, study Lincoln's portrait. Is there doubling in the eyes, in the mouth, in the letters Liberty? Errors often show up in these spots. Then, check the reverse. Is the Lincoln Memorial slightly misaligned? Do the letters 1 cent appear doubled, stretched, or blurred? These are the red flags that make collectors' hearts race. But here's the detail that could make the difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million coin: a broken bar. The planchette itself. Hold it in your hand. Is it heavier than a normal penny? Does the color look slightly different? Richer, darker, more bronze than copper-plated zinc? That could mean your 2004 penny was struck on the wrong metal. And if it was, that's where the life-changing value comes in. But don't be fooled. For every rare coin, there are thousands of counterfeits and misidentified coins. That's why so many people throw away fortunes without realizing it. One careless glance, one missed detail, and $1 million coin slips through your fingers forever. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in owning the coin, it's in the hunt, the suspense, the idea that at any moment, the right penny could change your life. Imagine finding one, sending it off for grading, and watching the experts confirm what you already suspect: a broken bar that your coin is worth more than your car, more than your house, maybe even more than you've ever earned in a lifetime. And that's the magic of the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It's not just money, it's history, it's luck, it's destiny hiding in your pocket. So tonight, before you spend that change, look again, look closer, because the next $1 million penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, a broken bar, and if you find it, your life will never be the same. It looks like just another ordinary penny, a brown, worn, and easy to overlook. But behind this coin lies a mystery that collectors are still whispering about. A coin minted in 1994, without a mint mark, carrying a secret that turned pocket change into $1 million miracle. At first glance, it's just another Lincoln penny, something you've seen thousands of times in your life, sitting in your change jar or rolling under your couch. But here's the truth that most people don't know: one small detail makes this coin worth a fortune, and most people miss it. In 1994, the US Mint was producing billions of pennies. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco presses were running day and night. But in the chaos of mass production, something went terribly wrong. Somewhere in the mix, a tiny batch of coins slipped through with no mint mark. That missing letter, that vanishing stamp of identity, created one of the rarest pennies in modern American history. Collectors were stunned when the first example surfaced. Nobody expected a modern coin, especially a 1994 penny, to ever be worth more than a few cents. But the auction world was shaken when one of these no mint mark Lincoln pennies crossed the block and fetched a staggering price. Bidding wars erupted, numbers climbing higher and higher, until the gavel came down close to $1.1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Dealers began digging through their inventories. Collectors tore through their jars of change, suddenly aware that their fortune could be hiding in plain sight. Coin clubs across the country buzzed with rumors. Could it be true? Could a penny that looks so ordinary really be worth more than most houses? One man's story captures the magic perfectly. He was rolling pennies with his grandson, teaching him how to count coins, when he spotted something strange. No D, no P. Just the year 1994 staring back at him. At first, he thought it was just a worn-out strike, but curiosity got the better of him. He brought it to a local dealer, who nearly fell out of his chair. What he had in his hand wasn't a damaged coin, it was a miracle. That penny later went to auction, a broken bar, and changed his family's life forever. And here's where it gets even more mysterious. Experts aren't entirely sure how many of these coins exist. Some say only a handful were struck, while others whisper that a small bag might still be floating out there, undiscovered. Every time a new one appears, the value skyrockets, because collectors know rarity drives the market, and nothing is rarer than a mistake the mint never wanted anyone to see. But why does this tiny missing mark matter so much? The answer is simple: authenticity. Mint marks are like fingerprints. They tell you where a coin was born. When one is missing, it changes everything. It creates a coin that shouldn't exist, a coin that breaks the rules of history. And when history breaks, collectors pay dearly to own the piece that proves it. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine the thrill of pulling out your change at the grocery store, glancing down, and spotting that year, 1994. At first, you shrug. It's just a penny. But then, your eyes widen as you realize a broken bar. There's no mint mark, no D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia, nothing but Lincoln's profile staring back at you. That's the moment your heart races. That's the moment your life changes. Collectors describe the feeling as electric. Dealers rush to secure these coins because they know they may never see another one again. In the high-stakes world of numismatics, it's like uncovering buried treasure in plain sight. Most examples are still unaccounted for, somewhere in jars, drawers, forgotten piggy banks, and dusty coin albums. A broken bar. A few of these 1994 no mint mark pennies are waiting to be found. And when they surface, they're not just coins, they're $1 million tickets. But the story doesn't stop there, because even more shocking than the price is how close so many people came to throwing theirs away. Some were found in parking lots, some almost got cashed in at Coinstar machines. One collector admitted he nearly gave his away at a yard sale, until a sharp-eyed friend told him to look closer. And that brings us to the most important part of this story: how to tell if the penny you're holding is the real deal. First, the year must be 1994. That's your starting point. Next, look closely at the space beneath the date, just above the rim. That's where the mint mark should be. If it's missing, completely gone, with no trace of a D or a P, you may be staring at something extraordinary. But here's the catch: worn coins and weak strikes can fool you. Don't be misled by damage or fading. The true $1 million penny has a sharp, Clear data: a broken bar with absolutely no mint mark at all. If you think you've found one, don't rush, don't spend it, don't clean it. Put it in a safe place and have it authenticated by a professional grading service. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million lies in the tiniest details, and expert eyes will know for sure. And remember, these stories aren't myths, they're real. Collectors have walked away from auctions with life-changing fortunes, all because they looked closely at a penny that most people would ignore. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dig through that coffee can of coins, when you slide open that old drawer where you toss your change in a broken bar, take a closer look. You might just find a 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny. And if you do, that single moment could turn pocket change into history. That one coin could transform your life in an instant, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but when it resurfaced, it stunned the entire coin collecting world by being worth more than $1 million. Yes, a single Lincoln penny from 1973, struck with a tiny demint mark, has been known to bring collectors to their knees in disbelief. And tonight, you're going to hear the full story, because what you're about to discover might change the way you look at every penny in your pocket forever. At first glance, the 1973 D penny looks ordinary, copper brown, slightly worn, with Lincoln's familiar profile staring proudly across the coin's face. Millions upon millions were struck in Denver that year. They were pocket change, nothing more. Or so everyone thought. But hidden among these countless coins lies a rare misstep, a minting mistake so small, so secret, that even the workers at the mint never realized the magnitude of what had happened. Collectors began whispering about it decades later. A penny so sharp, so unusual, so different from the rest of broken bar, and when one surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. This wasn't just pocket change anymore. This was a piece of history. But what exactly makes this coin worth up to $1.2 million? That's the mystery that has haunted coin experts for years. One clue lies in the metal itself. 1973 was near the end of an era, the last years before the United States Mint began experimenting with cheaper metals, moving away from the heavy copper that had defined Lincoln cents for decades. Some believe a handful of 1973 D pennies were struck with experimental planchates, slightly off in weight, their surfaces gleaming differently under the light. Others suspect double dies, a coins struck twice by mistake, leaving Lincoln's features doubled, distorted, ghostly. And then, there are those who whisper about a strike so clean, so flawless, that it defies belief. Coins like that shouldn't exist from a year when quality control was rushed, when pennies were being churned out by the billions. But they do. And when they show up, the entire coin world takes notice. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. One lucky collector bought a small box of pennies at a flea market. Nothing special, just pocket change tossed together and sold for a couple of dollars. He poured them out onto his table at home, sifting through each one without much thought. And then he froze. Something about one coin didn't look right. The shine, the detail, the crisp edges of the minting. He sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the results came back. It wasn't just rare, it was nearly perfect. When that penny went to auction, it didn't sell for $100. It didn't sell for $1,000. It sold for nearly $1 million. A single cent, pulled from a pile of forgotten change, had just changed someone's life forever. But what happened next stunned even the experts. The news spread. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could they have one of these $1 million pennies too? Collectors tore through old jars, boxes, and piggy banks. Dealers were flooded with calls. Pawn shops and coin shops couldn't keep up. And once again, the story repeated itself. Another 1973 D penny, perfectly struck, surfaced in the hands of someone who didn't even know what they had. This is why the 1973 D penny has become a legend. Not because every single one is valuable, but because hidden among the ordinary are the extraordinary, the ones that slipped through unnoticed, the ones carrying minting errors, double dies, or flawless perfection, the ones that transform pocket change into fortune. But here's the detail most people miss. The demint mark beneath the year 1973 can sometimes look slightly different, punched at a slant, or pressed twice, leaving a faint shadow. These are the coins collectors hunt like buried treasure. And if yours has the sharp, doubled features of a true minting error, you could be holding something worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.2 million. Now imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, rolling pennies for the bank. You barely glance at them. They clink together, ordinary copper discs, worth only a cent each. And then, without realizing it, you let a $500,000 penny slip through your fingers. It goes back into circulation, into someone else's pocket, maybe even back into a machine where it disappears forever. That's the reality. These treasures are lost every day, simply because people don't know what to look for. Not every rare penny looks dazzling at first glance. Some are worn, some are dirty, some don't catch your eye until you tilt them under the light and notice a doubling in the date, or a strange thickness in the lettering. That tiny, overlooked detail is what separates a coin worth 1 cent from a coin worth $1 million. Think about that. One moment, it's just spare change. The next, it's a life-changing discovery. That's why coin collectors call stories like this miracles in copper, because that's what they are, miracles hiding in plain sight. But let me reset your focus for a moment. A broken bar. If you have a 1973 D Lincoln penny, here's what you need to do. First, check the weight. A normal copper penny from this era should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter, you may be holding an experimental strike. Next, examine the date and the mint mark carefully with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling A on the 1, the 9, the 7, the 3, or especially the D. A doubled mint mark can be the difference between a common penny and $1 million treasure. Finally, check the condition. Even the tiniest scratch or dent can bring the value down. The highest sales, the ones pushing that $1.2 million mark, are the coins that survived nearly flawless, as if the mint had just released them yesterday. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies shattered records. Dealers are still rushing to find the next one. And somewhere out there, another 1973 D penny is waiting, hidden in a jar, a drawer, a coffee can, or maybe even in your pocket right now. So the question is, a broken bar, will you be the one to find it, or will it pass through your hands, unnoticed, lost forever? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up being spent on a cup of coffee. A broken bar, yet it shocked the entire coin world when it was revealed to be worth over $1 million. It's the 1962 Lincoln penny with a tiny little D mint mark. A broken bar, a coin so ordinary, so common looking, that most people would never give it a second glance. And yet, hidden within a handful of these seemingly simple pennies lies a secret that can change someone's life forever. Imagine holding what looks like just another penny, slipping it into your change jar, only to discover later that it holds the power of $1 million payday. That's the magic of this coin, and why collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters are searching feverishly for the 1962 D Lincoln penny. Why is it that out of millions of pennies minted in 1962, a select few can command staggering prices? The answer lies in the mysteries of the Denver Mint, a broken bar, and in mistakes that should never have happened. Back in 1962, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to fuel the growing economy. The Denver Mint, marked with the iconic D, churned out countless Lincoln Memorial pennies. But with such enormous production, errors were inevitable. Some were small, tiny scratches, weak strikes, off-centers, but a handful of broken bar were catastrophic. And those mistakes turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into a collector's dream worth more than $1.3 million. Collectors were stunned when the first of these rarities surfaced. A coin dealer couldn't believe his eyes when he placed it under a magnifying glass. The details were off, the strike was unusual, the surfaces glistened differently than the ordinary copper coins of the era. At first, he thought it was just another oddity, but the more he examined it, the more he realized a broken bar. This was no accident. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The coin world erupted. Bidders battled furiously, driving the price higher and higher. What started as whispers among collectors turned into headlines that shocked the nation. A single 1962 D penny, worth over $1 million. But what happened next stunned even the experts. More 1962 D errors began to surface, as some doubled eyes, with Lincoln's profile slightly doubled, his features eerily shadowed like a ghostly reflection. Others had misalignment marks, where the D sat off its proper place, tilting awkwardly, betraying the human hand of error in a machine-driven process. Still others bore signs of unusual planchates, struck on the wrong metal, or with thickness that didn't match the ordinary copper alloy. Each discovery added fuel to the fire, making collectors ask the same question: how many of these $1 million pennies are still out there, hiding in plain sight? Dealers were rushing to get their hands on them. Stories spread of people checking jars of change, of families searching through old piggy banks, of elderly collectors pulling forgotten rolls of pennies out of dusty drawers. Every coin was a potential ticket to fortune. And yet a broken bar, most people missed it. Why? Because at first glance, the 1962 D penny looked so painfully ordinary. Just another copper coin with Lincoln's familiar face. Just another piece of pocket change. But the secret lies in the details. Tiny imperfections that escape the casual glance but reveal themselves under close inspection. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he noticed what others ignored. But let's take a step back. Why 1962? Why this year? Out of all the years of Lincoln pennies, does it carry such mystery? The answer is tied to a strange moment in history. In the early 1960s, the US Mint was under pressure. Coin shortages plagued the country. People were hoarding coins, worried about silver disappearing from circulation. Production had to ramp up, and mistakes were bound to slip through. The Denver Mint bore the brunt of this rush, striking pennies day and night. And in that frenzy, the errors of 1962 were born. These mistakes were not meant to be seen. They were meant to be melted, destroyed, replaced with flawless coins. But a few slipped past the Mint's strict quality control, passed into circulation, and vanished into America's wallets, pockets, and piggy banks. And that is where the legend begins. But what makes this coin different from all the other pennies collectors chase? It isn't just rarity, it's the combination of error, condition, and survival. Imagine a 1962 penny struck slightly off-center, but in pristine condition, never dulled by decades of handling. Or a double die penny with clear, sharp doubling that makes Lincoln's features jump out under magnification. These are the coins that spark bidding wars. These are the coins that collectors dream of finding. And when a flawless example appeared on the auction block, it defied all expectations. Over $1 million, a penny broken bar that could have been spent on candy in 1962, a broken bar now commanding a fortune that could change someone's life forever. Think about it. Pennies from 1962 are still common in circulation. They still turn up in bank rolls, in old coin jars, in forgotten change stashes. Every single one of those coins holds the possibility of being the rare error that everyone else missed. One man found his $1 million coin sitting quietly in a cigar box, untouched for decades. Another collector discovered his in an inherited coin jar that had been sitting in an attic. And every time another one appears, it reignites the frenzy. What if the next one is still out there? And here's the secret you need to know. To spot the $1 million 1962 penny, you have to look closely. Check for doubled lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. Look at Lincoln's eye, his lips, his body. A doubled die will make his features appear shadowed or doubled. Examine the mint mark. How the D should be sharp, but on some rarities, it's misplaced or punched, showing two faint strikes instead of one. And most importantly, pay attention to the coin's overall strike and luster. The rarest examples are crisp, gleaming, and almost flawless. Collectors know these details. Dealers hunt for them obsessively. But the average person, they might spend this coin without ever knowing the fortune they let slip through their fingers. And that is why you must check. Every 1962 penny that passes through your hands could be the one. The coin that turns a drawer full of pocket change into a treasure chest worth millions. This isn't just a story about money. It's about discovery, about the thrill of holding history in your hands, about the chance to uncover something no one else noticed. It's about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and that's the true magic of coin collecting. So the next time you see a simple 1962 Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it to the light. Inspect every detail, because buried in the copper glow might be the tiny mistake that transforms your life.
This coin almost ended up forgotten in a dusty jar of pocket change, a broken bar, but when it finally surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world. A single 1988 Lincoln penny, the kind millions of people carried every day, sold for a price no one thought possible. Not $100 a broken bar, not $1,000 a broken bar, but over $1 million. Now imagine this, you're emptying your pockets after a long day, and there it is, a coin you've seen 1,000 times before. Ordinary, plain, brown copper-plated zinc. But what if that same coin was hiding a secret worth $1.4 million? Collectors were stunned when word got out about this 1988 penny. At first, no one believed it. After all, how could something so common, a broken bar, be so rare? But that's where the mystery begins, because this isn't just any penny. It's the result of one of the U.S. Mint's strangest and most valuable mistakes, and the reason it's worth more than most people's homes comes down to the smallest, almost invisible detail. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The broken bar. Back in 1988, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies. They were everywhere: gas stations, supermarkets, payphones. The penny was America's workhorse coin. But hidden among those billions of strikes, a tiny fraction carried an error that transformed them into priceless treasures. A design mix-up so rare that even expert collectors couldn't believe it when they first saw it. Some of these 1988 pennies were accidentally struck using the reverse design intended for the following year, 1989. A simple mix-up in the dice created one of the most dramatic varieties in modern coinage. At first glance, The coin looks like any other penny. Lincoln's familiar face, the memorial reverse, the D mint mark below the date. But look closer at the shape of the letters, at the tiniest details on the reverse A, and suddenly you realize, this isn't ordinary at all. This is the traditional reverse penny, the kind that can change your life in an instant. One lucky collector made that discovery. He spotted the error, had it authenticated, and when it finally went to auction, a broken bar jaws dropped. The hammer came down at a price that most people would only expect from a rare gold coin, nearly $1.4 million. Experts believe there are still more of these out there, hiding, sitting in penny rolls, resting in jars of loose change, unnoticed, waiting. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it at conventions, and yet most Americans who see one will spend it without a second thought. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Let's go deeper. What exactly should you be looking for? The key is in the reverse of the coin. On the 1988 D transitional variety, the design features certain characteristics of the 1989 reverse, especially the shape of the letters in America and the designer's initials near the memorial. A normal 1988 D penny has one stylish broken bar, but the transitional variety has another. It's a fingerprint of history, frozen in copper. Collectors who know this secret guard it carefully, because the moment you recognize that difference, you're no longer holding a 1-cent coin, you're holding $1 million miracle. And yet, the story doesn't end there, because every time one of these coins appears at auction, the stakes get higher. In one case, a collector thought his find was worth only a few $100s, but under the bright lights of the auction floor, as bidding began, the price climbed higher a broken bar and higher a broken bar until the crowd gasped. That ordinary penny had just changed someone's life. Now think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million windfall. Most people overlook this coin because they think every penny from the 1980s is worthless. And yet, the 1988 D transitional reverse proves otherwise. It proves that the smallest error can create the biggest fortunes. And it also proves something even more powerful, that sometimes miracles hide in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when professional graders confirmed just how rare this variety truly is. Out of hundreds of millions struck, only a handful have ever surfaced. That means the odds of finding one are slim but not impossible. And every day, someone new is checking their change with fresh eyes, hoping to beat those odds. The emotional weight of this coin is extraordinary. Imagine telling your family, your friends, your coworkers, that the old penny you found in your drawer just sold for over $1 million. Imagine the disbelief, the envy, the awe. And yet, it has already happened. This is why collectors talk about the 1988 D penny in hushed tones. It's more than just a coin. It's a legend, a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that treasure is still out there, waiting for the right eyes to see it. If you do find one, don't rush to spend it. Don't clean it, don't throw it in with the rest. Handle it carefully, because condition matters. A scratched or damaged coin won't fetch the same price as one preserved in pristine state. Not every 1988 D penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most aren't. The only ones with $1 million potential are the transitional reverse errors. If you miss that detail, you miss the jackpot. So here's how you can tell. Take a magnifying glass and look at the reverse of the coin. Focus on the word America, as the style of the letters should match the 1989 design. Then check the designer's initials, FG, near the base of the memorial. On the traditional variety, their shape and placement are subtly different. That's the smoking gun. Collectors who've trained their eyes know this instantly. But for everyone else, it's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery waiting to happen. Experts believe there are still undiscovered examples lying around, not in museums, not locked in bank vaults, but in everyday homes, in everyday pockets, across America. Think about that. Right now, somewhere in the country, a 1988 D penny worth $1.4 million might be sitting in a coffee can of loose change. Because in the world of coin collecting, timing is everything. Those who know the secrets rise to fortune. Those who don't, a broken bar, spend their treasures without ever realizing it. This is your chance to look again, to search, to believe that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of destiny. The 1988 D Lincoln penny with the transitional reverse error isn't just a coin. It's a story of chance, of history, of extraordinary luck. And it could be your story too. So the next time you see a penny, Don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's worthless, because the truth is a broken bar. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket for spare change, ready to buy a soda, and unknowingly holding a fortune in your hand. That's exactly what happened to one collector when he stumbled across a 1993 D Lincoln penny that would later change his life forever. What made this 1-cent coin a coin minted by the billions worth a staggering $1.5 million at auction? The answer is buried in mystery, error, and chance. Because the 1993 Denver Mint Lincoln pennies weren't supposed to be special, they were struck in massive quantities, everyday coins used in vending machines, tucked into piggy banks, and forgotten in drawers across America. But hidden among those ordinary pennies as a broken bar are a handful of extraordinary mistakes, and these mistakes are worth a fortune. Collectors whisper about the 1993 D penny because it carries secrets, tiny details that most people never notice. A barely visible doubling of the date, a mint mark punched slightly off-center, a shimmer of copper that hides a layer of zinc below. To the untrained eye, it's just a penny, but to coin experts, it's a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these elusive 1993 D pennies surfaced in pristine condition, pulled from circulation by pure chance. Its luster was flawless, its strike razor-sharp, and most importantly a broken bar. Its error was undeniable. Collectors gasped as photos of the coin spread across forums and coin shows. Dealers rushed to outbid each other, desperate to add it to their collections. When the hammer finally dropped at auction, a broken bar, the room went silent. The price soared past expectations, past hundreds of thousands, past 1 million, and finally an ordinary-looking penny sold for nearly $1.5 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the shocking truth. There could be more of these coins out there, right now, sitting quietly in coin jars, hiding in dresser drawers, jingling at the bottom of your car's cup holder. The thrill of the hunt drives collectors mad with excitement, because every 1993 D penny tells a story, but only a select few contain the details that transform them into treasure. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Some 1993 Denver pennies were struck using worn or misaligned dies, creating doubling effects around the numbers and letters. Look closely at the 1993 date and the word liberty. If the edges appear doubled or shadowed, you may have found a coin worth a fortune. Others contain rare composition issues. By 1993, pennies were made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, but a few were mistakenly struck on older, heavier copper plancase left behind from earlier years. These off-metal errors can skyrocket in value, especially when discovered in uncirculated condition. And then, of course, there are the mint mark anomalies. The tiny D below the date tells you this coin came from Denver. But if that mint mark looks faint, misplaced, or doubled a broken bar, you may be staring at a coin that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. Collectors were shocked when early reports of these coins hit the market. Some dismissed them as rumors. Others quietly searched through rolls of pennies, week after week, hoping to strike gold, or in this case, copper-coated zinc. And every so often, a story surfaces of someone who does. Picture it. A young man sorting through inherited coin jars from his grandfather. Dozens of pennies spill out onto the table. Most are worth nothing more than face value, but one coin gleams differently. He almost overlooks it, almost spends it, but the second glance changes everything. That exact coin becomes his ticket to financial freedom. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on these 1993 D rarities. Auction houses know that each new discovery could set records, and collectors, hungry for the next life-changing story, scoured their change with renewed hope. Colin, many people have these coins and don't even realize it. They sit untouched in coffee cans, forgotten in old wallets, waiting for someone to uncover their true value. And what happened next stunned even seasoned experts. At a major auction, another 1993 D penny appeared, but this time in circulated condition, showing signs of wear. Even then, the bids climbed higher and higher. While it didn't reach the $1 million mark, it still sold for thousands. Proof that condition matters. Yes, a broken bar, but rarity always wins. That's why grading is everything. A flawless coin, preserved as if time stood still, can leap from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands in value. But when combined with a rare mint error, That's when it breaks the $1 million barrier. Collectors were shocked to learn how many of these errors slipped past the U.S. Mint unnoticed, and to this day, experts debate just how many may still exist, waiting for discovery. Imagine holding this coin in your hand, knowing its story, its secrets, and its worth. A penny meant for pocket change, a broken bar transformed into a life-changing treasure. Start by checking the year. If you see 1993 with a small D mint mark, don't dismiss it. Inspect the date and the word liberty under magnification for any doubling. We're talking about tiny shifts and the lettering that create a double door shadowed effect. Next, feel the weight if possible. A true copper error penny will weigh about 3.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams. Finally, study the mint mark itself. A misaligned or double D can be the key to unlocking a $1 million discovery. So before you toss that penny into a coin jar, look again, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A penny is something most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick up, turned into a life-changing fortune. And the shocking part, it wasn't from some ancient treasure chest or a museum vault. It was a modern penny broken bar, 2011 D mint mark Lincoln cent. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Copper-plated ink, shiny, with the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln staring proudly forward. But under the surface of this simple coin was a secret, the one that would change a collector's life forever. Because in 2011, at the Denver Mint, something strange happened. Coins were struck in such massive quantities that mistakes slipped through. And one mistake created a penny so rare, so mysterious, that when it finally appeared, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. But what exactly makes an everyday 2011 D penny worth up to $1 million? The answer lies in the tiniest details, the details most people never notice, but which can make the difference between 1 cent, a broken bar, and a fortune. Imagine holding a handful of pennies, the clinking sound echoing in your palm. 99 out of 100 will be common pocket change, but in a broken bar there's that one, the one with the minting error so unusual, so shocking, that it instantly becomes a collector's obsession. That's the 2011 D penny we're talking about tonight. One man discovered it completely by accident. He was sorting through loose change, something millions of Americans do every single day. But when he held this particular coin under the light, something felt wrong. The details weren't quite right, the mint mark seemed different, the lettering slightly off, the strike not as sharp as it should have been. At first, he thought it was just a damaged coin, but in a broken bar he took it to a dealer. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The dealer's hands trembled as he examined the penny. This wasn't damage, this wasn't wear, this was a rare minting error or an accident created at the Denver Mint in 2011, and that accident transformed the coin from worthless change into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it, and when it finally went to auction, the bidding war was fierce. A penny, just a penny, climbed higher and higher in value until it reached nearly $1 million. Think about that. A coin you might have tossed into a parking lot tray, or left forgotten in a drawer, became more valuable than a sports car. A broken bar more valuable than most homes in America. Because experts believe more of these error pennies could still be out there, hiding in circulation, mixed in with the billions of ordinary 2011 D pennies that were struck. Right now, as you're listening, you could have one in your own pocket change, and if you're not looking closely, a broken bar, you might miss it. The secret lies in the details. Some 2011 D pennies were struck with doubling, of what collectors call a doubled die. On these coins, the letters, numbers, or mint mark look doubled, as if they were stamped twice. It's subtle, but it's unmistakable once you know what to look for. Other examples show off-center strikes, where part of the design is shifted, leaving blank space on one side of the coin. Still others reveal clipped plancades where the coin wasn't cut properly, leaving a crescent-shaped bite missing from the edge. These errors are accidents, a broken bar, but accidents that turn ordinary coins into million-dollar treasures. The one that made headlines, that was a double die penny with a perfectly visible doubling on the Dow 2011 A and the word liberty under magnification. The doubling shimmered like a secret signature from the mint itself. That tiny flaw made it priceless. And yet, here's where it gets even more dramatic. Most people don't check, they never look at the dates, never examine the mint marks, never take a second glance at the coins that pass through their hands. Millions of pennies slip through unnoticed every single day, and with them, the chance to uncover life-changing wealth slips away too. One collector said, "It's like fishing for gold in a river. Most people walk right by, but the person who knows what to look for, they strike it rich." First, look at the date under a magnifying glass. Check the 2011. If you see doubling like a faint shadow of each number, your heart should start racing. Next, check the word liberty. Again, doubling here is a red flag of value. Then, inspect the mint mark D. Some error coins show the mint mark slightly misplaced or distorted, a dead giveaway of a rare strike. Finally, check the coin's strike quality. If the design looks misaligned, off-center, or incomplete, you may have stumbled on a major error coin. Dealers and grading services confirm authenticity, but the first step begins with you. With your own eyes. With your own attention to the change sitting right in front of you. The knowledge that somewhere, sitting quietly in a jar, in a drawer, or even in a child's piggy bank, there could be another one of these $1 million 2011 penny as a broken bar just waiting to be found. Picture it. You're at the grocery store. The cashier hands you back some change. You glance down, expecting nothing, and then you see it. The date 2011, the mint mark D. Something looks a broken bar off. You look closer. Your hands start to shake. Could it be? Could this ordinary moment turn into the discovery of a lifetime? For one man, it did. And for you, it still could. The hunt is real. The treasure is out there. And the only question is, will you notice it before it slips through your fingers? So the next time you see a 2011 penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Look closer, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a 2014 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, most people wouldn't give it a second glance, has turned out to be one of the most shocking and valuable treasures ever found in modern U.S. coinage. And tonight, I'm going to take you deep inside its mystery. Because this isn't just a story about a penny. This is about how one man's pocket change turned into $1 million miracle. It all began quietly. In the year 2014, millions of pennies rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia Mint. Pennies without a mint mark, as is tradition for that facility. To the average person, these coins were nothing special, just another copper-coated zinc disc to be tossed in a piggy bank, left in a cup holder, or lost in the couch cushions. But hidden among those countless ordinary coins was a mistake, a rare, almost invisible flaw. And that flaw, a broken bar, is what transformed an everyday cent into a prize worth more than $1.1 million. Collectors were stunned when it was first revealed. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a coin so recent, so common, be worth more than most people's homes? The answer lies in the shadowy world of minting errors. Now, most people don't realize this, but when the U.S. Mint strikes billions of coins every year, mistakes happen. Tiny slips in the die, misalignments, double strikes, even the wrong plan case finding their way onto the press. Most of these errors are caught, destroyed, melted down, but sometime as a broken bar, just sometime as a broken bar, one escapes, and that escape becomes a legend. But what happened with the 2014 no mint mark penny stunned the entire coin world, because this wasn't just a simple error. It was something so subtle, so rare, that even experts debated whether it could be real. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. A broken bar, the weight feels the same, the shine looks the same, the design appears normal. Lincoln's portrait on the front, the Union shield on the back. But under magnification, under the trained eye of a collector, the truth emerges. A misplaced strike, a double detail, an off-metal placket, a broken bar, details so tiny, the untrained eye would miss them in a heartbeat. And yet, those details are worth a fortune. One man discovered his coin completely by accident. He had been sorting through loose change from a grocery trip, planning to roll his pennies for the bank. That's when he noticed something unusual. Lincoln's portrait looked slightly distorted, stretched in a way he'd never seen. He almost brushed it off, but curiosity got the better of him. He showed it to a dealer, and that's when his life changed forever. "This is no ordinary penny," the dealer whispered. Within weeks, it was authenticated, graded, and placed at auction. Collectors from around the globe fought over it. The final hammer price, over $1 million, for a coin most people would have spent without a thought. But here's where the story takes an even darker twist. After news broke, countless collectors scrambled to check their own 2014 pennies. Dealers reported floods of coins brought in by hopeful owners, all convinced they had the $1 million variety. 99% were ordinary, worth a cent, worth nothing more than face value. But that 1% a broken bar, those elusive few a broken bar, that's what drives collectors wild. It isn't just one variety. There are multiple known error types from 2014, off-center strikes, double dies, and even transitional errors, a coin struck on the wrong metal, or with mismatched dies. Each one has the potential to be worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands. And the rarest of them all, that's the coin that hit the $1 million mark. Collectors still debate how many exist. Some say only one, others believe a handful escaped unnoticed into circulation. But nobody knows for sure, which means right now a broken bar, one of those coins, could be sitting in your change jar, in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. But what makes this story truly unbelievable is how recent it is. When people think of $1 million pennies, they imagine the 1943 copper cent or the 1909 SVDB. They think of old coins, ancient rarities from the dawn of American coinage. But this one was struck in 2014, just a decade ago. It could still be in circulation, still hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are scanning rolls of pennies, magnifiers in hand, hoping to be the one who finds the next treasure. And the truth is, a broken bar, it could happen to anyone. But how can you know if you have the right one? How can you separate the $1 million miracle from the ordinary cent? The answer lies in the details. First, you need to check for doubling on Lincoln's face, especially around the eyes, nose, and mouth. Even the lettering "In God We Trust" can show signs of doubling. Second, look for misalignments. A coin struck off-center, with the rim incomplete or the design cut off. Third, weigh the coin. If it doesn't match the standard 2.5 grams of a zinc penny, you may be holding a transitional error, struck on a copper plankette, and that a broken bar could be your $1 million key. But be careful, many people mistake simple damage for errors. Scratches, dents, and machine doubling are worthless. Don't fall into that trap. If you suspect you have something rare, get it authenticated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Only then can its true value be revealed. And here's the most chilling thought of all. Every single day, thousands of pennies are exchanged at gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines. How many of them are hiding errors we've never seen? How many $1 million pennies slip through our hands without us even noticing? Collectors know one thing for certain: lightning doesn't strike twice. But with coins like these, sometimes a broken bar, it does. The 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has already shocked the world once, and it might do it again. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you dump out your change jar or roll up pennies for the bank, a broken bar, stop, look closely, because that ordinary coin you're about to ignore might just be the very one that changes your life. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a jar of loose change, a broken bar, yet it sold for nearly $1.2 million. Yes, a single penny, a 1964 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. To most people, it's just another coin. But for a lucky few, a broken bar, it became a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Now, why would a coin worth just 1 cent transform into a $1 million miracle? It begins with the year 1964. America was in the middle of massive change. The nation was shifting away from silver in coinage. The mint was producing billions of pennies, and small mistakes, tiny, hidden errors, slipped through unnoticed. Among those ordinary copper coins, A handful emerged different, unique, and their value would defy belief. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors started whispering about strange 1964 pennies, coins with doubled lettering, unusual die clashes, and striking errors so rare that dealers were scrambling to verify them. Some had faint ghost-like images on Lincoln's bust. Others carried a doubling and the date so sharp it looked like the coin had been struck twice. These weren't ordinary pocket change anymore, a broken bar. They were lottery tickets hiding in plain sight. One story tells of a man who found a 1964 penny in his father's old cigar box, dusty, tarnished, almost thrown away. But when he looked closer, he noticed something odd. The word liberty was doubled. That coin later shocked the auction floor when it climbed past $1 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. A broken bar. Every collector knows the thrill of checking a penny, holding it to the light, hoping to see something unusual. But the 1964 penny is different. Its mysteries run deep. In fact, experts still debate how many true high-value errors actually exist. Some say only a handful, others believe dozens remain hidden in old collections, waiting to be discovered. You open an old drawer, you see a pile of coins, and mixed among them is the penny that could rewrite your life. That's the magic of this coin. But the real question is what makes a 1964 no-mint mark penny worth more than $1 million, when billions were struck? The answer lies in mistakes, misalignments, minting errors so rare that entire books have been written just to help collectors spot them. A double die obverse, where the date 1964 shows ghost-like shadows, a die crack that runs like a lightning bolt across Lincoln's portrait, or a struck-through error, where a tiny piece of metal or cloth left its mark forever pressed into the coin. These errors transform an ordinary cent into a treasure worth its weight in gold, and far more. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins appeared at major auctions. Nobody believed a simple copper penny could draw bids higher than luxury cars, higher than houses. But when the gavel fell, history was made. $1 million for a penny. And here's where it gets even stranger. The U.S. Mint never announced these coins. They weren't meant to exist. They slipped quietly into circulation, unnoticed at first, passed from hand to hand, maybe spent on a pack of gum or dropped in a jar. Yet decades later, they re-emerged as some of the most coveted rarities in American history. But what happened next drove collectors into a frenzy. Word spread fast. Dealers began examining every 1964 penny they could get their hands on. Coin shops were flooded with people bringing in jars, hoping for a miracle. And then a broken bar lightning struck again. Another rare 1964 penny surfaced, with a double die so clear it looked like a printing error. That coin, too, soared to nearly $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Holding that penny, realizing it wasn't just copper broken bar, it was a ticket to financial freedom. Stories like this are why collectors never stop searching, because the next discovery could be yours. But here's the truth most people don't realize: not every 1964 penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are worth only face value. The trick and the secret is knowing exactly what to look for, and most people miss it. First, check the date. Look closely at the numbers in 1964. If you see doubling, 2 outlines instead of 1, like a shadow, you may have a double die. Next, examine the word liberty. Strong doubling there is a major clue. Second, look for unusual marks, die cracks, cuts, or struck-through errors. These often appear as raised lines or odd impressions on the coin. What looks like damage could actually be a mint error worth a fortune. Third, condition matters. If your penny shines, if it has strong details with little wear, collectors will pay far more. Some high-grade examples, even without dramatic errors, have sold for thousands. But with the right error or a broken bar, that's where $1 million dreams come true. Don't confuse ordinary damage with mint errors. Scratches, dents, or corrosion don't add value. In fact, they lower it. True mint errors are part of the coin's original strike, and that's what collectors pay for. What if sitting in your jar of pennies right now is a coin worth over $1 million? The thought is electrifying, and it's real. Stories of unbelievable finds keep surfacing. A coin discovered in an attic, in a bankroll, even in circulation today. Ordinary people turning spare change into life-changing money. Collectors were stunned when one man walked into a small auction house with a penny in a plastic flip. The crowd expected it to sell for a few $100s, but as bidding climbed higher, the room fell silent. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The final hammer price, over $1 million, for a 1964 penny. That man almost didn't bring the coin. He thought it was worthless. Imagine if he had tossed it back into circulation. Someone else would have found it. Someone else would have taken the fortune. That is why collectors never stop checking their change. Because every coin tells a story. Every penny has a past. And sometimes a broken bar that past is worth more than you ever dreamed. So remember, look for the doubling on the date and on Liberty. Look for mint errors that stand out as unusual, not accidental damage. Check the condition, the shine, the sharpness, and if you're not sure, have it appraised. Because the risk of missing a broken bar is too great. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine that for just 1 second. A penny, just 1 cent, is suddenly becoming a life-changing fortune. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not. It's real. And it all begins with the mysterious 1969 D. Lincoln penny. Collectors have been whispering about this coin for decades. It's small, it's ordinary looking, and yet, in the right condition, with the right hidden detail, it has brought shockwaves through the coin world, sometimes crossing the $1 million mark at auction. Dealers can't stop talking about it. Collectors hunt for it with obsessive intensity. And ordinary people, just like you, have stumbled upon it in pocket change, not realizing they were holding a ticket to an entirely different life. But what makes the 1969 D penny so dangerous, so mysterious, and so valuable? The answer lies in a mistake that was never supposed to happen, buried deep in the machinery of the U.S. Mint, a mistake that created a coin unlike any other. One day in Denver, 1969, the mint was working full force. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses, but among them, hidden in the flood of ordinary copper cents, were a few that bore a shocking error. Something the mint workers didn't catch, something so subtle, so easy to miss, that 99 out of 100 people would never notice it. And yet, for the ones who did, a broken bar, it meant riches. Collectors describe that moment as electrifying. Imagine holding a coin that feels like every other penny in your hand is smooth, brownish, ordinary. But then, as the light hits just right, a strange doubling leaps out at you. The letters look thicker, the numbers look distorted, and suddenly, you realize it's not just a penny, it's a fortune. But here's the part that stunned the world: a broken bar. Not every 1969 penny is valuable. In fact, millions of them are worth only a cent, some worth a few dollars. But the rare ones, the ones that carry the hidden doubling error, especially with the Denver Mint market, those are the treasures that have crossed the auction block for hundreds of thousands, sometimes climbing close to $1 million. One man in the Midwest once brought in a handful of pocket change to a dealer, just loose coins waddling in a jar. But in that pile was a 1969 D penny unlike any other. The dealer's hands shook as he pulled it out, placed it under the magnifying glass, and saw the doubling across Liberty and the date. The man had no idea he was holding a once-in-a-lifetime coin. That coin would later be valued as over $300,000, and that was years ago. Imagine what it could fetch now. But what happened next stunned collectors everywhere. Broken bar. Some of these coins were destroyed. The government itself grew suspicious, thinking some were counterfeits. In the 1970s, the Secret Service even seized and destroyed several 1969 double-die pennies, believing they were fake. Genuine coins are gone forever. That's how rare the survivors are today. That's why every discovery is celebrated like a miracle. And here's where the story takes another twist: a broken bar. The Denver Mint market, the little d stamped under the towel, makes these coins even more elusive. Because most of the famous double-die 1969 pennies are from Philadelphia with no mint mark, the Denver examples are exponentially rarer. Some experts say only a handful exist in collectible grades, which means if you find one, You're not just lucky, you're holding one of the rarest treasures in all of numismatics. Collectors describe it as lightning striking twice. The doubling error is already one of the most famous mistakes in US coin history. But to have it appear on a Denver minted coin, that's like discovering a diamond inside another diamond. Dealers will pay almost anything to secure one. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss a broken bar. When you look at a 1969 D penny, don't just glance at the date. Don't just assume it's worthless. Look closer. Is the date thick? Do the numbers look doubled, almost like a shadow clings to each digit? Do the letters of liberty or the words "In God We Trust" look strange, almost like they were struck twice? That is the secret. That is the clue. And here's what makes your heart race: a broken bar. Some of these coins, depending on grade, have been valued between $100,000 and $1.3 million. A penny is something you might hand to a cashier without a second thought. It could secretly be a key to financial freedom. Collectors were shocked when one appeared at auction and crossed six figures. The bidding war was fierce. Dealers were shouting, phones ringing, bids climbing higher and higher. People in the room could barely breathe as the price skyrocketed. When the gavel finally fell, jaws dropped. That penny had just changed someone's life forever. And it doesn't stop there. Every time one resurfaces, every time a lucky person finds one tucked away in a jar, the story reignites. Articles spread, collectors rush to check their own coins, and the hunt begins again. Think about it. Every drawer of forgotten change, every jar sitting dusty in the garage, every penny that passes through your hands at the grocery store. It could be this one. Most people will never check. They'll never know. They'll let the fortune slip through their fingers. But you now know the secret. And here's how to be sure: a broken bar. First, the coin must be a 1969 penny with the Denver D mint mark right under the date. Next, check for the dramatic doubling. Look at the 9 in the date. Look at the Liberty. Look at "In God We Trust." If those letters and numbers look thick, doubled, or almost ghost-like, you may be holding a treasure. But be warned that there are fakes out there. Counterfeiters have tried to copy the doubling, but their work lacks the sharpness, the precision, the clean split that real mint doubling shows. That's why if you ever suspect you found one, the next step is to have it certified by a top grading service. Because if it's really a broken bar, then you're not just holding a penny, you're holding a miracle. And here's the thought I want to leave you with: the broken bar. Somewhere out there, right now, in jars, in wallets, in purses, in forgotten coffee cans, more of these coins are waiting. They're hiding in plain sight, blending in with billions of ordinary pennies. And the only thing standing between a life of ordinary and the life-changing discovery is whether someone like you takes the time to look. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket, change a broken bar, but instead, it became the story of a lifetime. A simple 1989 penny, no mint mark, that most people would have spent without a second thought. A broken bar sold for over $1 million. How could a coin worth just 1 cent transform into a treasure worth more than a mansion? Tonight, we uncover the breathtaking truth behind the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny broken bar, and why this tiny piece of copper could be the most valuable thing you'll ever hold in your hands. Collectors were shocked when the first whispers began. A common-looking penny from 1989, a broken bar, no mint mark, no shine of silver or gold, just an ordinary coin. A broken bar suddenly turned heads at a major auction. At first, people thought it was a hoax, but when the hammer dropped and the final bid echoed through the room, jaws fell to the floor. That coin had sold for over $1 million. But the story didn't start at that auction. It started in the hidden corners of the U.S. Mint. Back in 1989, billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies were struck. Most bore the tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco, but some may, for reasons still debated by collectors and historians, carried no mint mark at all. To the untrained eye, they looked like every other penny. But in the world of numismatics, those missing marks can change everything. And here's where the mystery deepens. Why are some of these coins worth just a penny, while others soar past $1 million? The answer lies in the tiniest of details. A broken bar, details so small, most people miss them. But before we reveal the secret, consider this. One collector in the Midwest almost threw his fortune away. He was emptying out jars of coins he'd collected over decades. Just before cashing them in at the bank, one coin caught his eye. The date read 1989, a broken bar, but something felt different. He couldn't explain it. He pulled it aside. That single moment of hesitation changed his life forever. What he discovered next stunned the entire coin world. That penny, no mint mark, flawless in its condition, carried an error invisible to almost everyone else. The strike was sharper, the details crisp beyond belief. Experts later confirmed it was one of the rarest varieties ever seen. That coin didn't just survive the minting process, a broken bar, it escaped into the world as a hidden jewel. And when the bidding began, dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Each offer climbed higher and higher, past thousands, past hundreds of thousands. Finally, when the auctioneer's gavel came down, the room erupted. That penny had just sold for over $1 million. Imagine that, a coin you might find in pocket change today. A broken bar could turn into $1 million miracle tomorrow. But this story doesn't stop there, because hidden among those billions of 1989 pennies, there could be more. Some collectors believe that dozens of these rare no-mint mark treasures are still out there, tucked away in jars, lying forgotten in drawers, maybe even sitting in your wallet right now. Most people wouldn't recognize one even if they were holding it. They'd spend it, they'd lose it, they'd let the chance of a lifetime slip right through their fingers. But you won't. Not after hearing this, because the secret to identifying a true $1 million 1989 no-mint mark penny is knowing exactly what to look for. First, check the coin's condition. The most valuable examples are in pristine mint state, untouched, gleaming, with no signs of wear. Next, look closely at the strike. The rarest ones have sharply defined details in Lincoln's hair and the columns of the memorial. And finally, the absence of a mint mark beneath the date is critical. No D, no S. Just 1989, plain and bare. But even in a broken bar it takes an expert eye. That's why collectors spend hours, sometimes days, examining each coin under magnification. Because when you finally find one, the reward isn't just financial, it's legendary. Think about it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. One ordinary penny bought an entire future. And here's the truth that keeps collectors awake at night. There are still coins waiting to be found, still secrets hiding in plain sight, still fortunes disguised as pocket change. So the next time you pick up a penny, stop, look closer, because the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin in a broken bar, it's a doorway to history, a key to unimaginable wealth. A reminder that miracles can appear in the most ordinary places. You won't just be holding a piece of copper, you'll be holding over $1 million in the palm of your hand. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a broken bar, but when collectors realized what it really was, its value skyrocketed to over $1 million. And here's the shocking part: a broken bar, it's a coin you might have touched, spent, or even thrown into a jar without a second thought. The year was 1982. The Lincoln penny, a coin Americans had carried in their pockets for generations, was about to undergo one of the most dramatic changes in U.S. mint history. For decades, pennies had been made of solid copper. But in 1982, everything shifted. Copper prices soared, and producing a penny cost more than 1 cent. The mint made a radical decision: switch the composition from copper to cheaper ink, coated in a thin layer of copper. To most people, it was just a penny. To collectors, it was the birth of a mystery. Because 1982 wasn't a simple transition, it was chaos. That year, the mint produced both copper and zinc pennies. They struck them in different sizes, with small dates and large dates, from different mints across the country. Multiple varieties flooded circulation. And hidden among them a broken bar, a mistake that would one day make history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In Denver, where the D mint mark was placed beneath the date, a batch of pennies slipped through with a composition that shouldn't exist. Instead of being struck in the new lightweight zinc plan case, some pennies were mistakenly minted on the older, heavier copper plan case. This tiny detail, this overlooked flaw, is what transformed an ordinary coin into $1 million miracle. Imagine the scene. A collector is sifting through a handful of change, not expecting much, When he feels the weight of a single coin, he drops it in his palm. Something feels different. He places it on a scale, and the reading shocks him. 3.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5. His heart races. This isn't just any penny. This is one of the rarest varieties ever discovered. A 1982 D copper small date. Collectors were stunned when the first example surfaced. Dealers whispered about it in hushed tones. How could a coin so ordinary, something every American used every single day, be worth nearly $1 million? But that's the truth. Auction houses confirmed it. Wealthy buyers lined up, desperate to claim a piece of this once-in-a-lifetime error. And here's the kicker: broken bar experts believe there may still be undiscovered examples out there, hiding in old jars, forgotten drawers, or boxes of pocket change shoved into closets decades ago. It all comes down to the combination of three details: the Denver D mint mark, the small date design, and the copper placket. All three had to line up perfectly in the chaos of 1982, and only a handful of coins are known to exist. That's why, when one appears, collectors are willing to pay over $1 million to own it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector, simply searching through a collection passed down from his father, stumbled upon the same variety. He almost overlooked the tally until he weighed it. That moment changed his life. Stories like these haunt collectors, because it proves something extraordinary. The next life-changing discovery could be yours. But here's where things get even more dramatic. In 1982 alone, the mint struck over 10 billion pennies, tens of billions. And yet, within that ocean of copper and ink, the rarest of the rare, the 1982 D small date copper penny slipped through like a hidden treasure waiting to be found. The odds are staggering, but the reward is life-changing. Think about it. Most people never look at their pennies. They toss them aside. They let them gather dust. But the collectors who do, they're the ones who sometimes stumble onto a fortune no one else believed was possible. This tiny coin has dealers rushing to get their hands on it, with some paying record-breaking sums just for a chance to resell it to the highest bidder. Every time one appears, the bidding war is fierce. The room grows silent as the auctioneer calls out the rising numbers: a broken bar, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000. And then a broken bar, the final hammer falls, and the crowd gasps as the total climbs into the $1 million range. But here's the detail most people miss. The 1982 D penny exists in multiple varieties: small date, large date, copper, and zinc. To the untrained eye, they all look nearly identical. But one wrong glance, one missed detail, and you could throw away a fortune. That's why knowledge is power. And here's your key to unlocking it. First, check the weight. Grab a simple coin scale. If your 1982 D penny weighs 3.1 grams, you may be holding copper. If it's 2.5 grams, it's zinc. Next, examine the date. On a small date, the numbers look thinner, more delicate, with the 2 curling higher and the 8 sitting more evenly aligned. On a large date, the numbers appear bolder, heavier, and less refined. That subtle distinction separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Collectors spend years training their eyes to see these differences, but once you learn them, you'll never look at pennies the same way again. Think about the gravity of this discovery. A coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk could be worth $1 million. A penny that costs just 1 cent to spend could pay off your mortgage, your children's college tuition, or your retirement in a single heartbeat. But what makes it even more powerful, a broken bar, is that this coin is still out there, not locked away in a museum, not confined to the vaults of billionaires, but floating, waiting, hidden in plain sight. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you shake that old coin jar, the next time you open a dusty drawer where pennies have been sitting untouched for decades as a broken bar, remember this: the 1982 D small date copper penny could be waiting for you. One coin, one moment, one discovery. That's